Hello, and welcome, my friends. Welcome back to Gdr Today, the place where we take a step back from the noise and try to understand the mechanics of a well-lived life. I'm your host, and I'm so glad you've chosen to spend this time with me. Today, I want to talk about a feeling I suspect is deeply familiar to many of you listening right now. It's that low-grade, constant pressure. The feeling that you are walking a tightrope, and one wrong step, one missed deadline, one bad investment, one poorly chosen career path could send you tumbling. We live our lives as if we're cramming for some cosmic final exam, where every choice is graded, every mistake is permanent, and the final score will determine our worth. We tell ourselves that once we pass, once we get the degree, land the promotion, pay off the mortgage, then and only then can we finally breathe. But I want to propose a different way of looking at things today, a fundamental shift in perspective that has changed everything for me. What if life isn't a final exam at all? What if it isn't a test designed to measure and punish you? What if, instead, it's a game? A brilliantly designed, incredibly complex, and ultimately benevolent simulation meant not for judgment, but for exploration, for discovery. When you start to see it that way, truly see it, the entire landscape of your experience changes. The setbacks stop being proof that you're failing, and they start becoming the next level you're supposed to play through. The pressure to have it all figured out evaporates, replaced by a sense of curiosity about what the next move might be. So today, let's explore this idea together. Let's talk about what happens when you finally realize that life isn't something you merely survive, it's something you play. And, more importantly, how you can learn to play it skillfully, joyfully, and with a sense of profound freedom. Let's first be honest about the world we're living in, because the final exam mindset doesn't come from nowhere. It's baked into the very fabric of our culture here in the States. From the moment we enter school, we're taught to optimize for the grade. We learn to chase the A, to prep for the SATs, not always for the love of learning, but for the validation of the score. That score will get us into the right college, which will lead to the right degree, which will hopefully land us the right job with the right salary and the right benefits package. This mindset follows us directly into adulthood. Your career becomes a series of performance reviews. Your financial life is distilled into a single number, your credit score. A number that can feel more like a judgment on your character than a simple record of your financial history. We get trapped in what I call the golden handcuffs, staying in a soul-crushing job not because we love it, but because it provides the health insurance we can't afford to lose, or because it services the mountain of student loan debt we took on to get the job in the first place. The pressure is immense. We scroll through social media and see curated highlight reels of our peers buying homes, taking exotic vacations, and celebrating promotions. It feels like everyone else has the answer key to the exam, and we're the only ones struggling. We hustle, we grind, we optimize our mornings and biohack our afternoons, all in a desperate attempt to not fall behind, to not get the wrong answer, to not fail. The anxiety is palpable. It's the knot in your stomach on a Sunday night, the quiet dread of checking your bank account after the bills have been paid. It's the fear that you're doing it all wrong. That's the reality of living life as an exam. It's a life defined by fear. But what about the other side? What about the game? Think back to when you were a child. Do you remember what it was like to play? Maybe you spent an afternoon in the backyard. For 10 minutes, you were a world-famous explorer, navigating the treacherous jungle of the flower beds. Then a branch becomes a sword, and you are a valiant knight. An hour later, you're a 5-star chef, making mud pies for an imaginary clientele. You threw yourself completely into each role. But the moment your mother called you in for dinner, you dropped it. You didn't suffer an identity crisis because you were no longer a knight. You didn't have an existential panic because your Michelin star restaurant had suddenly closed. You just moved on. You were playing. And you knew, on some deep, intuitive level, that you were not the character you were playing. So what happened to us? When did we forget how to do that? I think it happens slowly, almost imperceptibly. The world starts telling us to pick one character and stick with it, to build a reputation and defend it at all costs, to become someone, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a manager, and then to spend the rest of our lives making sure we don't lose that someone. Before we know it, we're not playing anymore. We're performing. We're trapped in a role we didn't even realize we had auditioned for. It's like we've become method actors for life. We get so lost in the part, the job title, the family role, the story of our successes or our failures that we forget we are acting at all. We start to believe that we are the character. And when you forget you're playing a role, the game stops being fun. It becomes a prison. Now, I can already hear the objection building in your mind. It's a fair and deeply practical one. You might be thinking, okay, this life is a game idea sounds poetic and lovely, but it's fundamentally irresponsible. I have a mortgage payment due on the 1st. I have kids who need braces. I have a 401k I need to worry about. This isn't a game, this is serious business. Treating it like a game is just a nice-sounding excuse for being flaky, for not taking your responsibilities seriously. And if that's what you're thinking, I want you to know that I hear you. I completely understand that perspective. In fact, it's the most important objection we have to address. Because if playing the game meant ignoring reality, then it would indeed be a foolish and dangerous philosophy. But here is the crucial distinction, the very heart of what we're talking about today. Playing the game of life skillfully does not mean you are irresponsible. It is the absolute opposite. Think about any master of any game, a grandmaster of chess, a professional athlete like LeBron James or Serena Williams. Are they flippant? Do they just show up and hope for the best? No. They are incredibly disciplined. They are deeply strategic. They study the rules with an obsessive focus. They practice their craft for thousands of hours. They care intensely about the outcome of every single move. The difference is not in the level of seriousness or commitment. The difference is in where they place their identity. The master chess player can lose a match, a devastating, high-stakes match, and while they will feel the sting of defeat, their entire sense of self is not destroyed by it. They don't conclude, I am a failure as a human being. Instead, they think, that was a brilliant move by my opponent. My strategy was flawed. What did I learn? How will I play differently next time? This is the perspective shift that changes everything. The big secret isn't to stop taking the game seriously. It's to stop confusing yourself with your game piece. You are not the pawn, or the knight, or even the king on the board. You are the player, sitting at the table, observing the whole game and deciding on the next move. Your job title? That's a character you're playing. Your bank account balance? That's your current score in one specific minigame. Your relationship status? That's the state of your alliance in this particular round. These things can and will change. Your character can take a hit. Your score can go down. An alliance can break. But you, the player, the underlying consciousness, the core of who you are, remain untouched, still there, ready to learn, to adapt, and to make the next move. This separation of your identity from your circumstances is the source of all resilience. It's the key that unlocks the prison. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Early in my career, I started a small consulting business. For the first few years, things went well. I poured my entire identity into it. When people asked me who I was, I didn't say my name. I said, I'm the founder of. My self-worth was directly tied to my company's monthly revenue. If we landed a big client, I was on top of the world. I was a success. If we lost a client or had a slow quarter, I felt it as a deep personal failure. I wasn't just a business owner having a tough month. I was a failure. Then, due to a combination of a changing market and some strategic mistakes on my part, the business folded, and I was completely devastated. The character I had been playing, the successful young entrepreneur, was dead. And because I had fused my identity with that character, I felt like I was dead too. It was a dark, confusing time. I felt a profound sense of shame. I avoided talking to friends and family because I didn't know who I was without my business card to define me. It was only after months of reflection that I began to understand. The business failing didn't mean I had failed. It just meant an experiment had come to an end. The character took a massive hit, absolutely. The ego was bruised and battered, but the player, the part of me that was watching all this unfold, was still here. And that player had just completed an incredibly intensive, real-world MBA. The player learned about marketing, about cash flow management, about the importance of adaptability, about humility. The player had gathered an immense amount of data that would be invaluable for whatever game came next. When I finally saw it this way, it was like a weight was lifted. The shame disappeared, replaced by a quiet sense of gratitude for the lessons. The failure was no longer a stain on my identity. It was just a saved game file I could learn from. This is what I mean by playing the game. It's not about avoiding loss. Loss is an inevitable part of any interesting game. It's about not losing yourself when you lose. So, how do we begin to practice this? How do we move from understanding this intellectually to living it viscerally, day by day? It's not a switch you flip overnight. It's a practice, a new way of orienting yourself to your own life. The first and most fundamental practice is to consciously differentiate the player from the character. This starts with simple awareness. The next time you feel a strong emotion tied to your circumstances, maybe it's the anxiety of a looming deadline at work, or the frustration of being stuck in traffic, or the sting of a critical comment from your partner, just pause for a moment. Instead of being completely consumed by the feeling, try to observe it. You can even narrate it silently to yourself. Ah, there is anxiety. The character of the diligent employee is worried about failing. That's interesting. Or there's anger. The character of the person who is always on time is being thwarted. Look at that. What this little practice does is create a sliver of space. In that space, you begin to realize that you are not the anxiety. You are the one who is aware of the anxiety. You are not the anger. You are the silent witness to the anger. You are the screen on which the movie of your life is playing, not just one of the actors in it. The more you practice this, the less you'll be hijacked by the drama of your character. You can still feel all the emotions fully, but they no longer define you. They are just weather patterns passing through the vast sky of your awareness. The second part of this practice is to let go of the idea that there is a final win screen. Our culture is obsessed with destinations. We tell ourselves, I'll finally be happy when I get that promotion. Or, once I pay off my student loans, then I can relax. Or the big one, I'll work myself to the bone for 40 years and then I'll enjoy life in retirement. We spend our whole lives striving to get there. But as so many people discover, when you finally get there, you often find there's no there. You get the promotion, and after a week of excitement, you're just stressed about your new responsibilities. You retire, and after a few months of freedom, you feel a strange sense of aimlessness. This is because you were so focused on the destination that you missed the entire journey. The game was never about arriving. It was always about the process of moving. Think about listening to a beautiful piece of music. The point of listening to a symphony isn't to get to the final note. If it were, we'd just play the last chord and call it a day. The joy is in the experience of the music itself, the melodies, the harmonies, the rhythms as they unfold moment by moment. Life is the same way. The meaning isn't waiting for you at some future finish line. It's right here, in the texture of this present moment. The challenge you're facing right now is the game. The conversation you're having is the game. The act of making breakfast is the game. So the practice here is to shift your focus from the outcome to the process. When you're working on a project, instead of obsessing only about the final result, can you find some satisfaction in the simple act of solving a small problem in front of you? When you're with your family, can you put the phone down and just be present with the beautiful, messy, ordinary reality of that moment without thinking about what's next? This is how you stop missing your own life. You start actually playing it moment by moment instead of just trying to win it. The third practice is a powerful reframing of adversity. When something difficult happens, you get a flat tire, your boss is unreasonable, a relationship ends. Our default exam mindset interprets this as a personal failure or a punishment. Why does this always happen to me? It's so unfair. But the game mindset offers a different interpretation. It asks, what is this level trying to teach me? Every challenge is a form of level design. The universe isn't punishing you, it's presenting you with a puzzle specifically designed to help you level up. That frustrating colleague who pushes all your buttons? Maybe they are your advanced training course in patience and clear communication. That unexpected financial setback? Perhaps it's a mandatory quest to teach you the skill of budgeting and financial resilience. When you start seeing challenges not as obstacles to your happiness, but as the very curriculum of your growth, your relationship to them is transformed. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become an active, curious player, wondering what skill points you're about to gain. And this leads to the fourth, and perhaps most subtle practice, cultivating what I call a light touch. This is the essence of playing skillfully. It means you care deeply, you invest yourself fully, you strive with everything you've got, but you hold the outcomes lightly. It's the paradox of serious play. You can pour your heart and soul into preparing a proposal for work, but you maintain the quiet understanding that if it gets rejected, it does not diminish your worth as a person. You can love someone with your entire being, but you do not cling to them with a desperate fear of loss because you know your well-being doesn't ultimately depend on their presence. This light touch is the opposite of indifference. Indifference is not playing at all. The light touch is the mark of a master who is so confident in their ability to handle whatever comes next that they aren't paralyzed by the fear of a single move going wrong. It's playing with passion, but without the crippling weight of ego attachment. You give it your all, and then you let go. You act, and then you release. This is the source of a tremendous amount of energy and peace, because you stop wasting your life force on worry and resistance. When we bring all these practices together, we start to embody a different way of being in the world, a way that is far more suited to the realities of the 21st century. Let's be honest, the old script, the one where you get a stable job for 40 years and retire with a pension, is becoming a fairy tale for many. We live in an age of unprecedented change. Industries are being disrupted by technology, the economy feels perpetually uncertain, and the very nature of work is in flux. In this kind of environment, the final exam mindset is incredibly brittle. If your entire identity is tied to one job, one skill, one life plan, you are fragile. You are one layoff, one technological shift away from a complete identity crisis. But the game mindset is resilient. It's anti-fragile. The player who knows they can change characters, who sees setbacks as learning opportunities, who isn't attached to one single outcome, that player can adapt. That player can pivot. That player can thrive in uncertainty because they see it not as a threat, but as the game becoming more interesting. This isn't just a nice spiritual idea. It's the ultimate practical strategy for navigating the modern world. So, as we draw this conversation to a close for today, I want to leave you with this thought. The next time you feel that old, familiar pressure building, that anxiety that you're about to fail the big test, take a breath. Remind yourself gently of the truth. You are not a struggling student trying to survive a hostile exam. You are the universe itself playing. You are the cosmos in human form, exploring what it's like to be you, right here, right now. It's all a grand, magnificent game. You can care deeply about your moves without being destroyed when they don't work out. You can love with an open heart, knowing that the love itself is the prize, regardless of the outcome. You can face pain without adding the extra, unnecessary layer of suffering on top of it. You can enjoy your wins without clinging to them, and you can learn from your losses without being defined by them. This game, this life, is rigged in your favor. Not because bad things won't happen, they will, but because the real you, the player, can't actually be harmed. You can only learn, grow, and become a more skillful player. If any of these ideas have resonated with you today, if they've sparked a little bit of curiosity or offered a moment of relief, I'd be honored if you'd support the channel. Please consider hitting that like button and subscribe to Gdr Today so we can continue having these deeper conversations together. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What is one character you've been playing? Maybe the overly stressed employee or the person who has it all together that you'd be willing to put down, even just for a day, to see what it feels like to just be the player. Thank you for your time and your attention. It means the world to me. Now, go out there and play. Play skillfully, play with joy, and play with a light touch. Until next time.